Every time you lose your temper, withdraw emotionally, feel jealousy, or get excessively offended, it's not just about the situation. Often, it's about your shadow. Not the one cast by the sun, but the psychological shadow described by Carl Jung, those parts of ourselves we don't want to see, don't want to accept, and so, we bury them. But buried things don't die. They fester. They grow. And they control us without our awareness. Today, we're going to shed light on this shadow, understand how it shapes your behavior, and most importantly, how you can start taking conscious control of your life by facing it. What is the shadow? Carl Jung defined the shadow as the unconscious part of our personality, everything we repress, deny, or fail to recognize in ourselves. It's made up of emotions, desires, instincts, and traits we've deemed unacceptable or incompatible with our self-image. For example, if you were raised to always be polite and accommodating, you might repress assertiveness and anger. These emotions don't disappear, they become part of your shadow. And from there, they influence your behavior in indirect, often destructive ways. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That quote is central to everything we're exploring here. Because most people aren't living freely. They're reacting unknowingly to wounds, judgments, and fears buried in the shadow. A simple example. You may dislike arrogant people. But perhaps it's because you've repressed your own confidence, your own need to speak up, and so you project that discomfort outward. The shadow isn't evil, it's unintegrated. When we deny parts of ourselves, we become fragmented. Integration is the path to becoming whole. The origin of the shadow, how it was formed in you. Our shadows begin forming in childhood. As children, we learn quickly what behaviors bring approval and love, and which bring shame or rejection. A boy who cries might be told, "Don't be weak." A girl who gets angry might hear, "That's not ladylike." These messages teach us to suppress natural human expressions to fit into molds. So we start building a persona, a social mask, and behind it, we hide the traits that don't fit. That hidden bag becomes our shadow. Philosopher Alan Watts once said, "Man suffers only because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun." In other words, many of our neuroses stem from taking the game of identity too seriously. Real-life example. Someone overly obsessed with being seen as good might react aggressively when criticized, because their shadow holds deep insecurity and rage they haven't dealt with. The shadow at work. Everyday examples. You're scrolling through social media and feel irritated by someone's success. You tell yourself they're showing off, but underneath, your shadow might be hiding envy or fear of inadequacy. Or in a relationship, you accuse your partner of being needy, when in truth, you've rejected your own vulnerability and desire for closeness. These reactions aren't conscious. They bubble up from beneath, hijack your emotional responses, and distort your perception of reality. Psychologist Nathaniel Branden noted, "The first step toward change is awareness. The second step is acceptance. We can't change what we deny. But when we bring shadow traits into the light, we gain freedom." Rejection, the mirror of the shadow. One of the most common ways the shadow reveals itself is through projection. This is when we attribute to others the traits we reject in ourselves. Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." If you're constantly accusing others of being selfish, it might be that your own needs have been suppressed for so long that selfishness seems threatening. Or maybe part of you wants to prioritize yourself but feels guilty. A relatable example. You might dislike people who seek attention, calling them narcissists. But perhaps your shadow holds a repressed desire to be seen, appreciated, or validated. Projection is a defense mechanism. It's easier to spot a flaw in someone else than admit it's in us. Integrating the shadow. The path to wholeness. Shadow work isn't about eliminating parts of yourself, it's about reintegrating them. This starts with noticing strong emotional reactions. If someone makes you irrationally angry, ask, what part of me feels threatened? What have I repressed that this person represents? Journaling, therapy, deep self-reflection, and dream analysis, which Jung highly emphasized, are tools for shadow integration. Jungian therapist Robert A. Johnson wrote, "To own one's shadow is to reach a holy place, an inner center, not attainable in any other way." Integration leads to authenticity. You stop reacting compulsively and start responding consciously. Benefits of shadow integration. When you face your shadow, you reduce reactivity, improve relationships, make decisions aligned with your true self, release shame and guilt, gain emotional freedom. You also become more compassionate. You realize that others, like you, are often acting from unconscious wounds. Example, after shadow work, someone who used to react with rage in traffic might now respond with curiosity. Why does this anger me so much? That space between trigger and reaction is freedom. When the shadow is ignored. If left unchecked, the shadow can take over. People may experience emotional outbursts, sabotage relationships, develop addictions, or fall into depression, all symptoms of a divided self. Society itself has a collective shadow. Prejudice, injustice, and moral hypocrisy are all projections of what we as a group refuse to face. Author Debbie Ford said, "Whatever you're running from is running your life." Avoidance doesn't equal healing. Denied aspects only grow stronger in the dark. Common myths about the shadow. Myth: the shadow is bad or evil. Reality: it's neutral. It includes creativity, sexuality, playfulness, traits suppressed for being unacceptable. Myth: only those with trauma have a shadow. Reality: everyone has one. It's a natural result of socialization. Myth: facing the shadow is dangerous. Reality: avoiding it is. These myths keep people stuck, controlled by what they refuse to acknowledge. How to begin shadow work safely. Start small. Notice your triggers. Ask, what part of me feels denied or threatened here? Practice self-compassion. Remember, the shadow formed to protect you. Its methods are outdated, but its purpose was survival. Use mindfulness. Observe, don't judge. Be curious, not critical. If you feel overwhelmed, seek support. Jungian therapy, IFS, internal family systems, or trauma-informed coaching can help. Reclaiming your wholeness. Carl Jung believed that the goal of life is individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are by integrating all parts of the psyche. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. It holds the key to your freedom, authenticity, and full potential. When you face what you've buried, you reclaim the parts of yourself that were lost. And you stop living a life ruled by unconscious patterns. The journey isn't easy, but it's worth it. Because nothing is more powerful than a human being who knows themselves fully and loves themselves anyway.